All right, this week's lesson is on the area of quadrilaterals. Remember, quadrilateral is any shape with four sides. So, like a square or a rectangle would fit in quadrilaterals. But a rhombus or a kite would fit here. Trapezoid, or the one we're going to start out with, is parallelogram. All right, so anything with four sides is a quadrilateral. And we're going to start with parallelograms. The first thing, let's review what is a parallelogram. These opposite sides here have to be parallel. It's got two sets of opposite parallel sides. Any of these things could be a base. And so you could call this up here the base. Or if you wanted to, this could be a base. Right? So any of the sides can be the base. Right? We're going to work with a height which connects two bases. And so if it's these two bases across from left to right getting connected, then those are my bases and the height connects those. If it's up and down, top to bottom, then that's the more natural height. All right. And then the bases are the top and bottom. Altitude is a word that you'll see used in math classes if you haven't seen it before. Altitude just means height. Altitude, all right, how high a plane is, height. And that leads us to our equation here, all right? So area of a parallelogram. So for a parallelogram, all right, area equals base times height. Area equals base times height. That's our base formula for any parallelogram. Right? Whatever this base is times whatever the height is. Looking at a really basic example. We have a parallelogram. The height on the inside here, we'll say, is 4. The base here, this whole base, is 6. So area equals 4 times 6, where the area equals 24 units squared. Now it's area, so you did like if it was feet, you do feet times feet, or inches, inches times inches. And so the unit is always the unit squared. If it was feet, it'd be feet squared, or square feet, you could say. Inches would be inches squared, or you could say square inches. Okay. Now, the first example here is actually tricky, trickier than the second example. All right. The height here is on the outside. Right? And so it still connects from this space at the top to this space at the bottom. They had to like extend it, and so that's what makes it a little bit tricky. Also, we don't know what the height is. This 25 is on that slant. It is not the height. Now, because that's connecting from this space to this space, these two bases, that's the height, then I can say here that this is my base. All right. And so B, let me fix that. B equals 23. Right? I just got to find the height. Now, to find the height, I have to realize it's a right triangle in here. So Pythagorean theorem, h squared plus 7 squared equals 25 squared. Right? H squared plus 49 equals 625. 25 squared, 25 times 25. 7 squared, 7 times 7. Right? Minus 49 to both sides. H squared equals 576. I need to square root both sides. I end up getting H equals 24. So I have my B, and I have my H. So now for the area is just going to be base times height, 24 goes in for the height, 23 was the base. And multiply those two together, you get 552 feet squared. Next example here, and if you want to pause the video and give it a try, you could go ahead and do that. I kind of recommend that you redraw this shape because it will make more sense to you, I think, especially if you're struggling with this. If the height here actually does go up and down. So if you redraw it, that 5 goes there. All right. This 4 is relatively meaningless. And then the base was 10 up here. All right. And so the height area equals base times height. Right? Base is 10. The top 10. The bottom 10. Connected by the height 5. So 50 inches squared. So the first one was tricky because you had to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the height. This one's a little bit tricky just because you got to be able to visualize that the height is connecting the two 10 sides. But once you get the hang of it, base times height ultimately is a simple equation. Right? This is a rectangle special case, and I call these special cases just because there's more than one formula. So we could do area equals base times height. Right? Or you could call it length times width. And for a square, all of these are the same. And so you say area equals side squared. Right? So over here, you get, doesn't matter how you're looking at it, 7 times 20 is 140. Here, 10 times 10 or 10 squared is 100. And so they're all length times width or base times height. Rectangle squares are like that. All right. Square also has the one of side squared. So a little special cases just because base and height are the same as length and width. Trapezoid. Remember trapezoid now, it's going back. Trapezoid has exactly one pair of parallel sides. So the sides that are parallel are called your bases. The height connects the bases. So the height might be drawn on the inside, it might be drawn on the outside, but the height connects the bases. And then what we'll look at here, we'll look at one of the trickier ones, all right, that we can look at as an example. But you have to know what the bases are. The parallel sides are the bases, and the height connects. Right? And so if you're taking notes, get that in your notes. And please get this formula down in your notes. You're going to want these formulas. Area equals base times height for parallelogram. Trapezoid, you're not going to want to look back in the video for the notes. Please write these formulas down. All right? And so half times the height times the bases added together. All right? Half times the height times the bases added together. And so if they give you, let's say this base is 6. The height is 6, the base is 3 down up there, the base is 11 down here. You would do 1/2 times 6 times, and then in parentheses 3 plus 11. All right. Well, it's half, and then 6, and then 14. All right. Half of 6 is 3. 3 times 14 is 42. And so that would become my answer. And so you have to add the bases together. You have to add them together inside the parentheses and then multiply it all out. Half times the height times the bases added together. Or the better way to say it mathematically would be a half times the height times the sum of the bases. All right. Let's look at these two examples here. There's going to be two examples of trapezoids. This one's story problem. Andrea needs enough mulch to cover the garden she planted in a raised bed constructed in the shape of a trapezoid. So she made this trapezoid shape. Trapezoids are more common than you realize once you start looking for them out in the real world. Right? If one bag of mulch covers 12 square feet of desired depth, how many bags of mulch does she need to buy? So first I need the area, and then I need to figure out how many bags of mulch. Right? So first thing I do is the area. Well, we just said area equals 1/2 times the height. Well, the height connects the bases. Connecting the bases here is the 7. And then the bases added together, 1.5 plus 8 is 1/2 times 7 times 9.5. And now let's take a calculator. 1/2 times 7 times 9.5 is 33.25. Now, to figure out how many bags of mulch we need, we have 33.25 square feet. 33.25 square feet divided by 12, right, was 2.7. You can't buy 2.7 bags, so therefore it becomes 3 bags of mulch. You can't go into Lowe's or Home Depot and say, hey, I only need 0.7 of that last bag. They're going to laugh at you and say, well, that means you're buying the whole thing. So we're buying 3 bags of mulch. Right. This one is tricky here to find the height. The height is right here. Right. But it's also, if I want to connect it, right there. And so if up here is 9, this is also, if this is 9 feet right here, then this is 9 feet. To get the whole 12, this down here has to be 3. And so now that I'm working with a right triangle, and I have the bottom base here. The little part is 3 because this part was 9. So match the top. This is 9. So this is 9. To make 12, 9 plus 3 makes 12. And so now to find the height, I have to do Pythagorean theorem again. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Okay. Minus 9 to both sides, then square root. H equals 4. Right. So that's one thing I needed to have the bases, right? The top base up here, the bottom base down here, and now the height. I need all 3 numbers to plug into my formula. So area equals 1/2 times the height times the top base added to the bottom base. So it's 1/2 times 4 times 21, which was 42 square feet. Last one we're going to review today is kites. Kites have the congruent consecutive sides. Right? So 2 pairs of congruent consecutive sides make something a kite. These 2 are congruent and these 2 are congruent. Remember, it can be drawn kind of sideways as well, but it's still a kite as long as I have congruent, and congruent. Rhombus fits the rules for both parallelogram and a kite. I point that out just because, the area equals base times height formula we had earlier works for rhombus, all right? Because the rhombus is a parallelogram. But the one we're going to have coming up here for kite works for a rhombus. So rhombus can kind of fit into either category, and I'll try to be sneaky with it and give you different pieces of information. So just know that a rhombus can use either formula for a parallelogram or a kite. And so again, get this formula down in your notes. Have this down in your notes. Be able to look this up quickly. Last formula today. Area of a kite. Area is a half times diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So whatever this whole diagonal is, times whatever this whole diagonal is, cut in half. And so this 6 is just this little part. So if that's 6, then this little part down here is 6. So the one diagonal from here all the way down must be 12. And then from here, if that's 7 right here, then this has to be 7 over here. And so all the way across must be 14. And so area equals 1/2 times the one diagonal times the other diagonal. So 1/2 times 12 times 14, which ends up being 84 millimeters squared. And that is areas of quadrilaterals. Please feel free to review this video at any point. And good luck. The homework assignment's on McGraw-Hill. It's going to be called a lesson 11.1 assignment. The numbers, if you're using the workbook, are right there, but it should be pretty quick and easy to do. If you have any questions, you can get a hold of me, email. And good luck, guys.